Max and shit.
Yeah. The second bit might be right.
Okay. Anyone who's joined us now, that was the backside of James Young, who's decided to depart the show before it's even started. He's had enough 10 seconds in. Oh, no, he's back. He's back.
No, I just shut in the door because it's unprofessional.
Well, feel the benefit. My mum used to say. How you doing, everybody? This is Scotty and Motty and Youngie. Despite Jay Motty's best attempts at not talking about football on the podcast, I finally arrived at the point where we are going to talk about football at least once a week. Jay might not be joining us, but we've got someone who's far more knowledgeable about the sport and far younger and far less follically challenged than Jay and James Young. So we are going to be talking about football. This part of the podcast is going to be called, or the channel is going to be called Post-Match Pint, as both me and Jay are dry. We've both I'm on the water. What is that? Is that your Pepsi Max?
You know me too well. Come on.
Always on brand. Always on brand.
One day that sponsorship will come.
And then James Young is going to be getting involved in all the sports side.
I don't drink either.
You don't drink either?
No.
This was a really bad idea for the show. We didn't say pint of what?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting, James. What was the reason? I like. Is it a reason behind you not drinking, or
no? It's just a lifestyle choice. Just don't enjoy it.
Fair fucks to you.
So. Me and Scotty would have saved ourselves some angst if we'd have had that attitude at your age.
So I just, you only get pissed a couple of times, and it's like I'm actually being a massive dick here. So probably shouldn't do this.
I didn't get that for at least 15 years after I started drinking. I look back now and realise that I was a bit of a dick. But then I didn't have any sort of self-awareness in the slightest, because drugs and alcohol will do that to you, won't they, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, it took me about 10,000 goes of doing that before. I thought, hang on a minute, yeah. Maybe I'm being a bit of a knob.
Yeah. So when I build James up as being a sensible person and well-educated, obviously he's an exemplary young man. First place to talk was United last night. A dire game against West Ham, 3 points nonetheless. I've just got one big question I want you both to answer. Why the fuck are people asking for Declan Rice to join Manchester United? I can't see any redeeming qualities in that lad to bring to Old Trafford. I'd rather have two Freds. James?
Wow.
Well, it's Adam's fault that. He was the one that created that thing in the first place. So, look, he's a good player, but I think it's a similar sort of situation. I think Maguire was a similar sort of thing. People hyped him up a lot, and United signed him, and he's a good player, but he's not sort of a title-winning centre-back. I think he's won half of it, but him and Lindelof at the minute sort of aren't going to win United the title together. But yeah, I think he's young English. It's the same with was it Longstaff that United was supposed to sign for 50 million.
That was a bullet dodged. Can you imagine that?
Imagine him instead of Bruno. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's good when you make the comparison about like English signings or buying back like Maguire because he was English. I always thought Harry Maguire was like the Karol Poborska under Solskjaer's tenure. Do you know what I mean? Like he had a decent World Cup and that's what we signed him off the back of, but he wasn't going to win us any sort of major trophies. I'm not sure. Karol Poborski won a league with us, didn't he? I don't think he won anything else.
Yeah, no.
He was only there for like 2 seasons.
Yeah, it was after
he signed after Euro 96.
Yeah, so he would have won it in 97, I think, yeah.
That was a weird year that for United because it was Cantona's last season. I think Solskjaer signed the same season as well. And United just won the league. I think they lost. Did they go on the FA Cup to Barnsley, or was that the year after? Might have been, but it was probably one of the worst sort of league titles United won under Ferguson.
I think it's the lowest points in it we had to win the title. Was it 74 or something, or 75 points or something? Was that not 97? Was ridiculously low to win the title. Now it'd probably get you in about fourth.
Yeah, was that the series of 1-0s towards the end of the season, wasn't it? When Cantona was banging the one.
I think that was the season before.
That was a double season, yeah.
Cantona's last season was 96-97 when he scored against Sunderland, but for a lot of the season he was kind of absent from it, especially in Dortmund as well. United went out in the Champions League that season, I think, because that's why Cantona on the side.
Yeah. What was he called, the young lad, the playmaker in Dortmund's team?
Do you know what? The only one I can remember from that team is fucking Paul Lambert.
Because of his lovely teeth.
Yeah. Scored in the final, like, yeah.
Yeah,
Dortmund versus United.
Beat Juventus, fairly certain.
I'm going to have to find it who it was. We'll go back to that. But what did you think of the game anyway, Jay?
Yeah, I thought it was forgettable, wasn't it? It was one of those games. You know, you have games, and there's been loads of them over the years where you'll get a win, it's 3 points, you move on, and you just sort of never sort of think about it ever again unless it's some sort of bit of trivia that comes up in a quiz question or whatever. You know, who scored the own goal against United for West Ham or whatever. But yeah, I was a little bit worried before kick-off because obviously with all the injuries, I was wary. I know it's David Moyes, and you think, oh, it's West Ham, it's David Moyes. But I thought this could be one of those sort of 0-0s or 1-0s or just something. And I just felt it was a very David Moyes performance from West Ham. They didn't get going until about 20 minutes to go. And that did us a favour because the first half was more or less a write-off. We weren't at our best at all. And, you know, it's like, I think you mentioned about Declan Rice. I think he had Mark Noble alongside him. I genuinely didn't even notice Mark Noble was playing until he went off. It was just such a poor performance by West Ham. And I think if they actually gone for it, they might have got some out of it. But obviously, I'm glad they didn't. My only the main gripe that I had with the game, not the fact that we won or the manner of victory, I'll take any win at the minute. It was the fact that some of our players, especially Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, looked dead on the feet at the end of the game. And we've got a massive game coming up on Thursday, and I'm not feeling as confident as I was because if we've still got players missing and those players are knackered as well, it's going to be tough against Milan.
Yeah, James, what do you take away from the game? It's 3 points.
Yeah, I think what Moyes was trying to do was basically set up to frustrate United with a sort of low block that he did, and then hit United on the counter-attack and frustrate them in the same way that Crystal Palace did, Burnley have done last season, similar type of performance. But I think after United scored, that kind of went against what he was trying to do, and I think he kind of, in the last sort of 15 minutes, tried to push a bit more. They had a couple of chances towards the end, kind of made it a bit nervy, but it was kind of a typical Moyes performance in that aspect, which is why I don't think he's beaten United since leaving, actually. I'm not sure.
I can't think of a time of his beating us. I know we've beaten him 3 times this season.
There's a lot of teams come and play like that, they're Old Trafford, and sometimes it works, but I think United are getting better at breaking down smaller teams like we've seen that try and sort of frustrate them, because I think this is the thing with Solskjaer. I think this is progress, because last season there was a lot of sides that came to Old Trafford like Burnley that just sat back and came away with a point or one.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem. Like a lot of way, he gets a lot of stick online, Solskjaer, for his lack of tactical nous, and I've been one to criticise him just due to sort of this sort of on-brand wording for managers now. It's like philosophy or what's your identity in football and stuff, and it just gets a little bit annoying. But what, like, Solskjaer seems to be this, like people have been saying, similar in the vein of Ferguson, where he wants players to create their own identity and make their own mind up on the pitch as to how best to play the game. Do you sort of see now that that's getting more fruition when we're beating the teams like West Ham when they're playing quite defensively? Would you say, James?
I think so. I mean, people always talk about Solskjaer not having a style, but I don't really know what they mean by that, because Ferguson didn't have a set style. You know, he was a counter-attacking manager. In certain games, he kind of did it based on the circumstances. Look at the Barcelona game in the Champions League semi-final, second leg in 2008. That was a defensive performance. But if you go back and you look at some of the performances that United played under Ferguson, especially in later on in that season, 2008, 2009, they were a lot more attacking. So managers don't really have set styles. You have certain philosophies like Bielsa and Guardiola that tend to play a certain way. But even Guardiola, I've seen before, when City are 1-0 down and need to get a goal, he'll get his goalkeeper to hoof it up front because they need to score. So I think people are saying that he doesn't have a set style or a set philosophy. It doesn't really make sense.
Jay?
Yeah, I think there's James spoken a lot of sense there. I mean, you know, going back to Fergie, if you look at the sort of my favourite team, I'm not saying it's the best, but my favourite team is the 94 team. Now, you look at the way that team played compared to the 2013 team, it's completely different. You know what I mean? The different styles and the way the wingers were, it was different. But with Ole, I think sometimes some people don't like Ole, don't want to give him any credit. So they'll say things like, oh, it's the individuals that have won in the game. It's Bruno or it's Marcus Rashford, or it's, you know, it's not that they're playing a certain way. It's that they've done something off their own back and that's what won us the game. And I think that's a bit nonsensical because, you know, if you go back to the City game, for example, that's not an easy result to get. And I thought Ole got his tactics that day spot on. I think you're right in the sense that he doesn't have a set way of doing things. He'll change it. But I think you've got to give him credit when it's due. And, the City game is a good example of getting it right against a very good team that was just kept winning and doing what you needed to do to get a victory. And he did that. And against West Ham, you look at it and you go, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't a great game of football. It was one of those that if we'd have all been at Old Trafford, we'd have been struggling to get going. But it was a win and we needed a win. And it was a win where, okay, for the starting 11, he had enough players to choose from. But past that, we were missing quite a few important players. So, yeah, I think I'll take that. And I think James is right in the sense that Ole can change it up a little bit. And I'm just hoping he can get that right balance, because what we saw last season, we saw against the big teams, we did really well. And against the sort of smaller teams, we were struggling. You mentioned Burnley, Crystal Palace, Watford, Bournemouth. I can go on, I won't. This season, it's almost been a little bit of reverse in the sense that some of our results against the bigger teams haven't been good enough, whilst we've dealt with a lot of the smaller teams. I just think Ole's still getting that balance and still trying to find his feet a little bit. But, we'll wait and see whether he gets there.
It sounds like you're referring to my tweets when you say nonsensical regarding individual moments, because that's something that I've put on Twitter.
No, honestly, mate, I wouldn't.
No. You just threw me under the bus there. You're pretty much verbatim. Thank you very much. And I'll counter that with the fact that I'll hold my hands up, and I thought that the playing Martial against Man City was a bold move, and it's not one I would have made given Martial's form. And despite Martial not scoring against City, I thought it was his best performance that he's played in a while. But what I don't get is that whilst I'm not Ole out, but I'm sort of on the fence regarding whether he's the right man for the job. But why is it that people will praise him, Jay, for his tactics against the likes of Man City when we're getting the results, but when we get bad results against the likes of fucking the team in Turkey or against Sheffield United, it's individuals who haven't got the balls or haven't got the performance, and it's very rare that you sort of see people switch it over. When people are very much in the Ole in camp, when United are playing bad, it's the players' faults, but when United win, it seems to be Ole that's responsible for the victory. Would you say that's fair?
I get you coming. I think that is fair, but I mean, personally, I did criticise Ole for those Sheffield United game and for the Istanbul game. I'm not just saying, it's all the players' fault. When you've got Demba Ba on a counter-attack like that in Istanbul, it's disgraceful. The manager's got to take some responsibility. As of the players, it's not mutually exclusive. But sometimes people do fall into that. And I know I genuinely wasn't digging you out. I was digging you out and I said, you said this. Yeah. I would have screenshotted the tweet and put it on the fucking screen. I think we know we looked over long enough for that one. But I see it a lot. And I think there is an element of that when it comes to people that are Ole in. And it's difficult to say Ole in or Ole out. I mean, things change. I've seen people that were adamant that Ole wasn't the right man for the job who have come out of that thinking he is. And I've seen vice versa, people who are backing him who have started to fall out of him. I personally, I can see what he's trying to do. And I think he deserves at least to the end of the season. I've always said that. And then, you can see how he's got on at the end of the season when he's won anything, whether the team's progressing or whatever. But it's easy to say things like that. And I get where you're coming from. Like, it's the player's fault for the bad results. It's the manager's fault for the bad results. And, what quite more often than not, what's actually accurate is somewhere in the middle.
James, what do you think about these rumours then of Jay said giving to the end of the season before judging on what he's done so far? These rumours going around that he's going to be offered a new contract. What do you think the sort of bare minimum that Solskjaer's got to do to earn that by the end of this, what will be his third year at United?
Well, I think you've got to look at the bigger picture. I think that's a lot of what the sort of Solskjaer out people don't do, is they don't look at the fact that since he's taken over from Mourinho, there's progress. You can't not see that. He's taken United to 3 semi-finals last season, finished third. Probably the best he could have done with the players that he had in this season as well. United are on course to finish second. If he wins an FA Cup or if he wins the Europa League, then that is progress. And ultimately, he's going to be judged on what he wins. And I think if United pick up a trophy this season, whether that's the FA Cup or the Europa League, I think that's success and that's improvement on last season. And therefore, he should be rewarded with that. The question I have is if he's going to be backed enough in the transfer market, because it's okay if he gets a new contract and he's working with what he has at the minute. But if it's going to be like last season or the season before where United only make 3 signings, or he asks for a striker and he gets Cavani, who's a good player, but not quite the player United were after, or several other things, I think you've got to work from the top down. And I don't necessarily think that with the current structure in place that United necessarily set up in the best way for success. And if Solskjaer does win a title, then that's going to be in spite of the Glazers or Mr. Woodward.
Yeah, I mean, they can give him a new contract in the summer, but I don't think if they're not going to back him, then they shouldn't be able to sort of change the objectives and say, right, well, you've got to win the league now because we're going to give you Declan Rice on a plate and we'll throw Mark Noble in as well, just to room alongside him. Jay, how about yourself? What's the sort of bare minimum? I mean, 3 years in, like James said, we've been to semi-finals. You've got to be a hit in a final this year, a trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird the semi-final one, isn't it? Because as a United fan, you go, fucking semi-finals, I'm not here for this. This isn't what we're about. But you have to sort of look at the context of some of that. Some of those runs have had decent results in them, beating good teams. It's not like, we've gone out in the early rounds of these cups. So there is a positive there that you've beaten some good teams to get there, but it's sort of tainted by the fact you keep getting semi-finals and not winning. And, we are about silverware. This is quite a long spell for United, even post-Fergie, to not have a trophy. And it pains me as well that someone like Mikel Arteta, who's sat in 10th, has still won a trophy with Arsenal, despite the fact that they've struggled. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had so many good results as United manager. When you look at some of the results we've had, it's still, we've got to final. So for me, I just want to see progression. I think, James sort of said it there. If you think he's doing well, the team's moving forward, there's a lot he's had to do. If at the end of the season, you finish second and you think, okay, this is an improved performance, or the team's moving forward, then yeah, great. But personally, what I'd love to see is just get into that top four, but silverware. I just, what I mean, because it's like you're not going to sit here in 10 years' time and go, do you remember that time we finished second to City or third or whatever? But you might talk about, remember the time we won the FA Cup in 2021. That is something you probably will remember. That's
what I mean. And for me, I think 10 years, 15 years down the line, if Solskjaer's time at United doesn't bring up a cup, he won't be remembered as being the manager that was great at getting rid of Lukaku or Sanchez. You don't get a trophy for that. You know what I mean? Like great sort of car boot sale. That's what fucking Solskjaer was like, getting rid of players. Whereas you look at Van Gaal, FA Cup, Mourinho, Europa League, and these are big, these are big trophies that I think he needs to sort of say that he has been an equal success, because at the moment is a lot of could win this, could win that, and he's second in a league where West Ham are challenging for a top four place. I don't think the competition's as high this year for when we're hitting second place. But we shall see. What do you think for against AC Milan, James?
Well, I think it's going to be harder than people expect. I think that's the thing with the Europa League. I'm probably more of a supporter of it than other people. I think United should take it probably quite seriously, because it's a good opportunity to get silverware based on UEFA sort of things. It's higher than the FA Cup is, because it's a European trophy and it doesn't quite have the same lost as the UEFA Cup used to, because of the way that you qualify for it now. But I think it's a good opportunity for silverware. I think Solskjaer should probably take it seriously. But again, AC Milan are a good side. They've got a couple of really good players in their team. And even though they've got an injury list, there's a couple of players that are coming back. And I think the fact that they equalised right at the end, I think it's going to make things a lot harder going into that second leg. I mean, they can just play for a 0-0 draw and they're through. So I think it's going to be difficult, but I think United on paper have a better team. I think it's just a case of being able to sort of break them down and not let them sort of frustrate United.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Jay, you spoke about before, how knackered they looked against West Ham, and now we're going over to Milan looking for, we need to get a win in the San Siro, which has been difficult on many occasions since we've been over there in the past. I've been to the San Siro twice, and against Inter and AC Milan, and didn't see us win either game. How confident are you, Jay?
Well, I was a little bit overconfident in the first leg, I'm not going to lie. I looked at the injuries they had, the fact that they had, obviously, Zlatan was out, the lad whose name I always pronounce wrong, is it Sanaloglu? How would you say it, James? Help me out. Chanaloglu, thank you. Yeah, he was out, and I thought, oh, you know what? We've got a couple of injuries, but we'll be all right, and they'll be struggling. And that wasn't the case, was it, really? We never really got going. So, yeah, I am really worried. I'm worried about the fact that Bruno Fernandes was literally holding his leg at the end of the West Ham game. Marcus Rashford was sort of crouched on the floor. We don't know what's happening with Cavani, how fit he is. Don't know what's happening with Martial, how fit he is. I'm on the fence in terms of whether I think we'll go through on this one. My heart says yeah, because I always can have that thing. When it gets closer to the game, like if you ask me on the day, I'll be like, oh yeah, we'll do these tonight. But sitting here now and just looking at the sort of the players that are available, the fitness of them, and the way that got that result at Old Trafford, I think it's going to be tough, man. I really do. I think it might even be one of those where it's like, a draw on the night or 1-1 on the night and it goes to penalties or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not too confident myself. I prefer to be a pessimist and be pleasantly surprised when I'm proven wrong. You always win that way around, but it should be interesting on Thursday night.
A bit like the Arsenal game in the FA Cup a few years back under Van Gaal, and everyone was really confident, and Di Maria got sent off, and Welbeck scored.
That was horrible. That was a horrible game, that, wasn't it? Yeah, I was like, I almost forgot about that, unfortunately. But it's weird, you mentioned that though, right? Because you made a good point, Scotty, where you're saying like about trophies and things like that. People have rose-tinted glasses with like the Van Gaal era because he won the FA Cup. People will go, you know what, Van Gaal though, he won the FA Cup, played some youngsters, gave Marcus Rashford's debut, and like people can remember it fondly when that was awful to watch. Like I didn't see a goal down my end for 3 months, like literally, not one goal, not even against.
Do you remember the West Brom game for the 1-0? And that's the worst United game I've ever witnessed in my life. So
honestly,
terrible traffic up to Manchester. I think it was like 6 hours to watch that.
Oh, mate, it's bad enough driving for 20 minutes, let alone what you went through. But the thing is, though, and it's even Jose in his first season, won two trophies and stuff. People remember that and they look back at it fondly. But even then, Jose gave up on the league in January. We were getting beat and drawing with some awful teams. But people look back at the Van Gaal final season and the Jose season because there's trophies and go, you know what, those were good seasons. So I think that's what may happen with Ole.
Van Gaal should have finished in the top 4 as well. City were crap really in that last season, and United should have beaten West Ham really.
Yeah,
a lot of chances to overtake City. Because I remember they dropped so many points towards the end of that season, and United just didn't pick up on them.
It was weird because it was like, there was with Van Gaal. He was such a strange manager because for me, the best performance I've ever seen by a Manchester United team post Fergie was Wanfield. That was just, he got his tactics so spot on. 2-1 flattered them. It should have been 3-0 or 4-0. We absolutely dominated him. I know Gerrard got south, but it was just perfect performance. And yet he could do that. He could do it against City, the 4-2 against City. Again, fantastic. And yet he'd lose to Stoke. He'd lose to Southampton. He'd lose to Norwich. Do you know what I mean? West Brom. You're like, what is going on with this guy? Why can he get it so right one week and so wrong most weeks?
I think as well, because he had a great record against Liverpool, people view him with sort of rose-tinted specs. So I remember the 3-1 as well, and Blind scored from a free kick, seems to remember.
Yeah, he's like, there was that. There was the Fellaini one as well.
And the Martial goal as well.
Yeah.
Was that Mourinho? No, it wasn't that goal.
That was like Rodgers' last game, wasn't it, for Liverpool as Liverpool manager? And it's like, he could do that against good teams like City and Liverpool, and then, relegation fodder would come to Old Trafford and win, or you'd go away at Stoke and it'd just be the worst game of football you'd ever see, and we'd lose. So, it was really weird with Van Gaal. But, because he got that trophy, people go, you know what? This is all right, actually.
Sometimes the ends justify the means,
Jay. Yeah, that's it. That's how it is, isn't it? Like you're saying, if Ole doesn't win anything, people will go, oh, it's a disaster. Yeah, if he wins something, people will go, oh, actually, it was all right.
Football fans will be fickle. And speaking of fickle football fans, James had a WhatsApp to me today, and there's an interesting question about should we be supporting? What was it, James? Do we support Salford now because they're doing well, or should we support FC United out of the two of them?
No, I was making the comparison. Actually, what did I say? Salford doing well. Are we fans? Money's good, but is it sustainable compared to FC United?
What do you think, Jay? Do you care?
Right, I've got to be honest with you, and I'm going to lose all my Salford points here. I get really annoyed with this whole Salford loving. I do. Like, I get it if you're a Salford fan, or if you're from. I mean, I live in Salford, but I didn't even know there was a football team at Salford until I saw the Class of '92 thing going on. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know where they played. I've never been to see him. Like, once they took over, I covered a couple of games and I saw the friendlies and stuff that they did when they played some United teams and stuff. But I don't care whether Salford win or not. I've not got like any affiliation with him, and if I'm in the same city as them. That's not really like, oh, I care. And this whole thing of like, I've seen loads of United fans are like, oh yeah, I really want them to do well, and I just don't get it. I'm just like, why? I know, Gary Neville owns them. So fucking what? He doesn't own it. It's not like. And also, it's not like just Gary Neville bought them on his own. Peter Lim owns half of them. Do you know what I mean? He's like a massive billionaire businessman, and it's just like I just don't really get it. It's just it just annoys me a little bit the way a lot of people go on about it. And like I said, I can understand if you're from Salford or if you've got some affiliation with him, and you might, I can get the sort of idea of I like Gary Neville, I like David Beckham, and I like Giggsy and stuff like that, and I want them to be successful in what they do post United, but I don't really give a toss. I just. Is it who's we got over there? Who's the lad? Is it Bernard James on loan there?
I think so. But
yeah, I want him to do well, but as a team, because he's a United loanee, but as a team, I'm not really bothered.
What I was going to say was, I think with Salford, to be honest, I'm kind of with you, but I think a couple of things like changing the badge and the kit colours and that sort of thing, and a couple of other things. I don't like the fact that they've handed the naming rights over to the stadium, and I think. It's a couple of things about the project. Like if I was a Salford fan, I wouldn't be very happy if we'd been playing in whatever Tangerine for like so many years, and then they came up and changed it to red, changed the badge. And I think there's definitely problems there as well with the stadium development that they tried to move in and regenerate, which wasn't very happy. But I think they are working, to be fair, with the local area as much as they can. They are trying to listen to them, but I think it's very difficult when you've got like a billionaire there that's trying to do a lot of things, and it's complicated certainly. But they obviously they are successful. I mean, they've got so many promotions, and now they've won their first silverware, so it is definitely doing all right for them.
Sorry, go on. I was just going to say, go on. No, you go on. Go on.
Fuck off. Go on.
I was just going to say they thrown quite a lot of money at it as well, haven't they? Like in terms of wages and stuff.
Helpful they've got a billionaire owner.
Yeah, Darren Gibson was there. Was he not there? From James Wilson and is the other lad who came from Aberdeen, Adam Rooney, who was on massive money compared to the rest of League Two, whatever it was.
It was the National League then.
National League. Sorry, you're right. They were non-league when they got him. So again, it's not quite the romantic story that some people are painting it to be. It's not like, these lads who from United and they all get together and you buy this little club and it's like, it does a lot for the community. It's like a billionaire and his mates throw a shitload of money at a non-league club and turn it into something else.
You know what it is for me, mate? It's just the footballing version of gentrification. You've got a lot of posh lads, maybe not posh lads, but rich lads who have gone into deepest, darkest Salford. I fancy getting a football club. What do you reckon, lads? Oh yeah, we'll get this football club, because the whole branding regarding the class of '92, the PR exercise around that has been absolutely incredible across the city. And the fact that, what were you saying, James? It changed the colour of the kit and the logo and stuff like that.
They used to play in Tangerine before. And they've changed that to like that the whole new badge. That whole class of '92 branding is fucking everywhere around sort of Salford. You got the University of '92, Hotel Football, all of that.
So they basically whitewashed it with their own branding. Now, if Gary Neville. His name was Vincent Tan, and he was doing that at Cardiff City, he'd be getting fucking slated in the press, because that's exactly what he did when he was trying to check. Or the, what was it, Hull Tigers as well? They did the same sort of thing as Hull, but because it was foreign owners and they didn't have the sort of Sky Sports name, Mr. Nice Guy from Bury, Gary Neville owning it. It gets away with it. I'm probably going to get slated when my people. I go back to BBC slagging off me. Mr. Nice Guy, but it does come across. And then when you make the comparison earlier on today, James, about the FC United, that comes from a completely different place. It isn't entrepreneurs or anything. It isn't former footballers with loads of money to splash. It was a fans' initiative because they were pissed off that nothing was getting done about the Glazers taking over. Now, why didn't the Gary Neville anything? If you really give a shit about United as a club and stuff, why would you not put money into FC United? Because that seems to come from a better place.
But that's the thing with Salford is that most of their fans to begin with were anti kind of what Gary Neville and Class of '92 stand for. They didn't want 6 straight promotions or whatever it is. They wanted to enjoy non-league.
Yeah, I mean, you grew up in Salford. The chances are you're a United fan or not, or a City fan, to be honest.
Or Salford and United.
Yeah, exactly. So Salford, like you just said there, James, is like the whole idea of this is that's the club you could go to, for pay £2 or whatever or nothing. Go and watch him and, be there at a game and then go home and maybe watch United later on or watch United on the telly or whatever. And that it's changed it all, hasn't it? It's done it differently. And it's like, now it's becoming something else.
Reminds me of Rushden and Diamonds in a way, because they were owned by Dr. Martins, Max Griggs, and they were basically just came out of nowhere. They actually formed a merger of 2 sides, got shitloads of money, got into League One, built like a massive stadium, and then Dr. Martens did terribly, and they folded. They're only in existence for 10 years, I think, 10, 13 years, something like that.
Sad, isn't it? It's sad.
But it's weird because it's they weren't even a team to begin with. They were Rushden Town and another side, and he just merged them together, pumped loads of money, and now the stadium that he built, Nen Park, which I think was one of the best stadiums in non-league. I think it's housing or something now. It was only built in 94, 95. And then 2011 they folded.
What is the situation with FC United now? Because I went to the first of their few games. I went to Leek Town away. It was a fantastic day out, and when they were playing at Berry's ground in the first season and stuff, it just felt like proper grassroots. I mean, the football was fucking shocking, as you'd expect.
You don't go to the football, do you?
No, you don't. But it was a lot of. I remember the very early days of FC United, and there was old boys there that had basically been there season tickets after 30 years that were going in the who were in the stands at Leek Town. And it's funny enough, I remember this because I think when FC United had their first game, it wasn't long after United had played either Inter or AC in the Champions League.
It would have been AC Milan in 2006.
Yeah, so AC Milan. Because I remember meeting lads in Milan and then seeing them at League Town the following weekend. It was great, and they were saying that we're bidding our season tickets at the end of the day, and it was a good laugh and all that. And I thought it came from a great place. It was never going to go on to sort of emulate it. And I think it's got more romance. I think FC United's probably got the romance around it that Gary Neville's PR team are trying to put on Salford City.
But they've had their problems as well. I mean, they've had loads of infighting around Mr. Walsh. Plenty of stuff going on there. Especially around 2015, 2016, the whole programme thing with the Benfica game, which just caused chaos. But they've restructured now because obviously they got promoted to the National North, which is the sixth tier. Got relegated back down to the Northern Premier. But they're sort of finding their feet again. But they would be back in the National North. But the last 2 seasons now, this season and the one before, the league's been cancelled, so they've been able to get promoted. But I've seen them a few times. I went away last season to I think it was Hereford, Talford, a couple of places sort of near where I am, because I can't go to many United away games because I can't get in the ballot. And FC United is a pretty similar experience to it.
Really?
Yeah. I know what you mean about a lot of the infighting. We had George Baker on the channel when it was Full Time Devils. He was one of the founders of FC United, and he was saying it just sounded like one headache after another for a little while. There was loads of infighting. I think Andy Walsh was involved for a little while. I don't think he is anymore.
No, he's gone.
So they had a lot of problems there in terms of who was looking after the money, who was organising it, where the money was coming from, just the sort of stuff you're going to get when you run a club. But ironically, this is a club that was meant to be about this sort of fan-owned thing, and it was going to be different. And then there was some people that were sort of veering towards making it something else, and it just sounded like it got a little bit testing, shall we say. But I mean, people sometimes ask you this, when you're anti-Glazer but you still go to United, how do you sort of recompense the two when you hate Glazers, but you still go, and I've got a season ticket, so people accuse me of being a hypocrite, and maybe I'm a little bit. I get that accusation, but my sort of attitude has always been about United. It's my club. I was there before the Glazers, and I'll be there long after the Glazers have gone, hopefully.
What if the Saudis bought
them? Sorry?
I said, what if the Saudis bought them?
That's a difficult one. Someone asked me this once, and I said, that might be a bit too far for me. And that might sound strange because you say, the Glazers are terrible owners. I can get worse than them, but the Glazers are terrible owners in terms of sort of business people and what they're doing to the club from a business point of view. If certain owners took over, who've got like the human rights record that some of these people who've been linked with United have got, and it takes over a different type of ownership and it becomes something else then altogether. So when I was asked that question, I think I was asked that on Twitter about 4 years ago when I was laying into City's owners, I said that'd probably be the straw that broke the camel's back for me.
City fans said that, and then they got bought, and then they got successful.
Mate, I've had that shit from them. They were like, "Oh, yeah, it's all right for you United fans. You had all this success, and now we've got it. You moaning." I'm like, well, "That's up to you." But
a lot of the time,
don't say you weren't going to go.
A lot of the time with morals, people draw the line just beneath what's acceptable to them.
That's true. And I've seen this nonsensical argument from some City fans. So they say like, "Well, it's not our job to criticise the owners." right? And then they'll say this is I've literally had this argument with City fans. They'll say, well, City fans shouldn't be criticising the owners because they're just jealous. So I'm like, okay, if fans that aren't City fans can't criticise them, and City fans can't criticise them, that means nobody can criticise these owners. Well, that's not what I'm saying. Well, that's literally what you're fucking saying. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. So City fans are doing what they're doing. They can. That's their bed. They can sleep in it. But yeah, from a United point of view, I think that the sad thing is as well, who is going to buy us other than someone like that if it's not the Glazers?
Well, we could be fan owned, really, when you think about it.
You're right about that.
But I mean,
I just wonder whether we missed the boat on that.
Barcelona's the biggest fan-owned club in the world, technically, and that's in absolute mess. So
there was apparently this is one of the things that I spoke to Ian Sterling from Must, and he said, I think it was Ian that told me this. Like it was a lot closer than we thought to it actually being fan-owned properly United. You know, when there was a time when it looked like it was going to happen.
With the Red Knights and all that.
Yeah, he said it very nearly did happen, but in the end it didn't. And now, because of the price of the club and things like that, it's probably never stranger things have happened, but it's going to be very difficult.
So that's the thing, right? I was going to say that's the thing people seem to forget with the Glazer process. People on Twitter say, why didn't you do more? But they don't seem to understand the fact that United fans actually barricaded them inside the stadium, wouldn't let them out, did all sorts of stuff in town in terms of actually sort of going to Ladbrokes and all these sponsors and just absolutely destroying them and sending death threats to people and boycotting the Green Goal campaign. Did everything they possibly could to stop it, violent and non-violent.
Yeah, started another club for fuck's sake, and you two both been to watch him as well. You can't do more of a process than say, okay, we're going to start this other club instead with a similar name. We're all going to go and watch this. I mean, or a chunk of fans are going to go and watch this. So the whole idea, and I hear this argument as well. Well, you weren't moaning about it when you were winning things. We literally protested against AC Milan in the Champions League whilst we were league champions. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we were fucking waited until the wheels came off before we were protested. That's been going on for years. The problem is, unless you're flying over to Tampa Bay or wherever the fuck it is, the Glazers don't care. They're not bothered. Do you know what I mean? They're immune to it almost.
I had a conversation about this. I think City had won the other week, and I was bored shitless. So I was saying I was just fishing online. I was saying, City have won the league. They bought the league and stuff, and football's just turned into F1. Lewis Hamilton wins it every year because he's got the best car, and he's just becoming boring anymore. And they all bit as you expect them to do and stuff like that. But there were a lot of them are saying that the Glazers haven't been as bad owners as United fans are being made out. So I'm just wondering, James, is there any case where the Glazers have done good? You can look at the money that's been invested. They
haven't invested any money, though. That's the thing. All the money United have spent in transfer fees is United's own money. The money that they haven't invested any money, they've just taken money out. That's the thing.
Well, there we go. That's answered that question.
You can't argue that. Yeah.
Where were you backing me up when fucking Bertie Blue was attacking me on social media?
Oh, Bertie Blue, Bertie B, Magoo.
The thing is, you can't when he's these arguments with City fans and stuff it's so fucking pointless and it just drives you mad. I've done it, and in the end I just can't be asked because it's United spent money. United broke the transfer fee for Rio Ferdinand and for fucking Wayne Rooney or whatever, and it's you just don't get it. You're never going to get the fact that they were just a sort of bottom of the table or lower table club that got this massive windfall that is the reason now that they're winning all these trophies and they're doing like they are. United have always been pretty much at a similar level. The only difference was Fergie took it to a more consistently higher level because of his genius. And it's we've always had that revenue. We always create our own revenue. That revenue, some of it used to go back into transfers that kept the success going. Some of it didn't. And then what happened when the Glazers came in, saddled us with all this debt, used these ridiculous loans to buy the club in the first place that never should have been allowed. So they just fucking levied up to the max. And then now and again, they'll put a little bit of our own money into a transfer just to keep the club going, basically, so they can take more money out. And that's just the sort of argument that you just, 140 characters, whatever it is, just doesn't fucking give you enough to go back and forth over it, man. You just send yourself mad.
It doesn't matter about those slaves. I mean, that housing estate they built in Clayton's clearly far more.
Do you know what? This is another thing that fucking winds me up as well. Is like Manchester City Council just bent over backwards for all this investment from the UAE or wherever it is City's owners are from, and it's like that's not. They like it's helping Manchester. It's fucking not. How many of those houses and these developments are actually going to the people that need them? None of them. Do you know what I mean? This is just you're just selling half our city to foreign investors, and I don't care whether they're foreign. I'm not a fucking Brexit or England for the English. I don't care. What I do care about is when I'm literally stepping over spice addicts to get to the shops at work when there's not enough fucking houses to go around. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and the plans that they've got for the Eastlands as well over the next few years, it just looks like more and more people are going to be shipped out. High rises going up, expensive apartments and stuff, and it is again. It's just another PR campaign. I like to say that.
This is what I don't understand with Andy Burnham is right. He does all this stuff for homelessness, and they're quite radical policy in terms of the housing first scheme that he's trying to develop and that sort of thing. But then there's homeless shelters that have been there for ages, and then he forces them out to build. It doesn't stop the gentrification of it, and then moves them all the way across the city. I don't get it.
No, I like Andy Burnham, and I've probably never interviewed one person as much as I've interviewed Andy Burnham. I interviewed him fucking dozens of times. When he was Lee MP, when he was running for mayor, when he became mayor, we always got on really well. But there's certain things that I don't really get, and I think he is a decent person. I do. I'm not just saying that. I do. I'm not his mate. I don't. You know what I mean? We don't know each other, but I do think he's a decent person. But some of those decisions, like you say. On the surface, you think, okay, this makes sense, this looks good. And then when you scratch beneath that surface, you do sort of wonder, like, what's the thinking here? Why are you going for this? Especially as someone who's, he's not as centrist as people make out. Do you know what I mean? He is left wing, and it's like, I don't get it.
But Joe Anderson's not doing well at the minute, is he? The Liverpool one.
No, it's weird in Liverpool because you've got Steve Rotherham, haven't you, who's like the Metro mayor, and you've got Joe Anderson, who's the mayor. And they fucking hate each other, like fucking despise each other, like can't even be in the same room. So how that possibly works, I've no idea.
But who's the one that's got done for the sort of housing alleged?
Is Joe Anderson? Joe Anderson won, and he stepped down now. Didn't he have to step down, Joe Anderson, after the back of the? It wasn't long after. Didn't his brother die of COVID as well in the summer? And I think all the allegations came out that he'd been taking bungs or whatever for property developing. Right?
Oh right, so I didn't realise this. Yeah, you're right. I'm just looking now. He was arrested. Yeah, internal audit. Do you know what my favourite thing about Joe Anderson is when Ross Barkley signed for Chelsea and he tweeted the FA to investigate it.
Fucking hell.
He's a big Evertonian, isn't he? And was it like Ross Barkley went for a medical and then failed his medical? And then ended up signing. Did he sign for Chelsea later on or something for a much lower fee? And Joe Anderson was like, everyone thought like Everton had been had over, that basically gone there, said, listen, I'm not 100%. I'm not going to be able to play for you for 6 months, whatever. So buy me in 6 months when I'll be cheaper. Or however it was, I can't remember the ins and outs. And Joe Anderson lost his mind on Twitter and was like, this needs to be investigated. And everyone's like, the fuck is the mayor of Merseyside, whatever it is, mayor of Liverpool getting involved in this nonsense for?
Don't forget, this is the city that produced the soap star that offered out Sergio Ramos when he tackled fucking...
Mark Monaghan. How can we forget? I know you are a coward. I'm a 55-year-old, but I'm going to tell you now, I will fight you. You and me, one-on-one in a boxing ring for charity. Mate,
the bruiser from Brookside.
He's out celebrating me in the Champions League, you knobhead. He's not fucking getting ready to fight some failed soap star from Merseyside. Get a grip.
Remember that when after Liverpool lost that Champions League final to Real Madrid, you had like Jermaine Pennant saying "You'll never walk alone" and then attacking Karius at the same time.
Mate.
Like it was so bad. Like they were giving him death threats and all that, weren't they? And it's like that's your own goalkeeper, for fuck's sake, mate. It was mint because we was in Disneyland, right? Me and the family in Euro Disney. It was me, the kids, and the missus, and my mum and dad. And the night of the final, me and my dad were chatting, and he was like, my dad like takes it to another level. He just hates Liverpool Football Club. Like, you know, he's just a kid of the 70s and 80s, so you can imagine. So he's like just forget about the game. We'll go out and have a nice night out and just won't find out the score and all this. I was like, right, sound. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking, because it's the Champions League finals going on, as we're sort of in Disneyland waiting for this firework display in front of the big castle. And there's some Scousers, like everyone's camped out waiting for the fireworks, and there's some Scousers near us, and I can hear them all cheering and hugging, like they're literally stood near us and hugging each other and high-fiving. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I looked to me watch this, like, final whistle. And I just heard one of them say, I fucking love Gareth Bale, man. You've got to fucking love that bloke. And it dawned on me they were Evertonians. And I was like, that was it then. Got my phone out, couldn't help myself, see what had happened, told my dad. And then just as I told him, the firework display started, it was fucking mint.
Is there a sports bar at Euro Disney?
Yeah, we went to that.
Because weirdly, I went on a school trip there because there was like this business and IT conference there, and it was really cheap. It was like something like £200 for like 3 days. It was something really, really cheap, all inclusive. And United were playing Chelsea whilst I was out there, and I remember I didn't want to. I got lost because I didn't want to leave the whole park and then not find my way back in. So I think I caught like the last half an hour of it, but it was just full of like divorced men and like the wives coming back in. So it was like City were playing Arsenal in the FL Cup final the same day, and it was just full of like Berties and the missus coming in and saying, "Right, we've got to leave now," and it's like, "No, watching City, I can't."
I remember being in Frankie and Benny's for my cousin's birthday when Gerrard slipped against Chelsea, and I got the video on Twitter, and I screamed the fucking place, and I was like, "Fucking yeah!" I was like, "I have to leave a minute now." Fucking screaming, man.
I told you the story. My dad almost got in a fight in a bar in Spain once. When Drogba scored that offside goal. I was literally online with him when he was screaming offside. I was there, yeah. Right, we were in Spain. We watched it in this bar, and I would have been like 7, maybe 8, and there was this Scouse bloke in there, and he was proper like giving it loads. And anyway, like Drogba scored, and he was. I was like 7, and he was proper like goading me in his bar, and my dad just like turned around, started like shouting at him, and he was like, "Oh, shut up, sit down and eat your cheese toasty." It was all kicking off, man. Terrible. 7 years old.
Yeah, it's a nightmare when you're watching football in a band. I did it in London once when we played Liverpool in the John O'Shea last minute winner.
Yeah.
I can't remember what happened. Like, I think Liverpool had a goal disallowed or something. And during the game, and I was in like a Witherspoons, and was with me ex, and there was just like the two of us, and there was this table, and it was like full of Liverpool fans, and they all jumped up because they thought they'd scored. I can't remember if they had a goal disallowed or got something in a bar or whatever. And then when it got disallowed or it wasn't a goal, I jumped up, was like, "You fucking scout bastard, sit down," and all this, right? And then like realised I'm on my own. I've got misses with me. That's not going to help. There's like 8 of them sat around the table in Witherspoons, all levered, and then it started kicking. I was like, "Yeah, mate, I might have fucked up here." It's like,
did you ever watch United in 3D? That was fun. Did your po ever have Sky Sports 3D? That was great. I remember watching United Everton or United Fulham, the 10-11 season, and I think they came back right at the end and scored United missed the penalty because Nani took it instead of Giggs, and there was all these like grown men with these like 3D glasses on watching this. Got rid of it after like 4 months.
Fucking hell! I just can't imagine him trying to do that in my local, because they'd be often be sold down the pub, down the pub down the road. Got all these 3D goggles here. Look,
it was the future though, wasn't it? Do you remember that? It was like, this is the biggest invention since colour television. This had separate commentary and everything.
Did it really? I mean, if Steve McManaman's in the commentary, it's not that bad an idea. They can find an alternative.
I think it was Alan Parry, apart from Martin Tyler and Andy Gray before he left. It was them two, and then Alan Parry on his own doing the 3D commentary, because Sky used to do all these sort of weird gimmick things like player cam and fan zone and like the highlights on the red button, different camera angles.
Yeah,
I remember fan zone. Fan zone was probably the precursor to fan cams, weren't they? I imagine that's probably what.
Probably the precursor to watch alongs. It was a watch along, wasn't it? I think Gaz Drinkwater did one. Gaz from Full Time.
Yeah, but that wasn't proper, because that was when it got relaunched a few years later.
Was it? Because he did it with that Heavy D, who passed away recently. Them two, I think, did it. But I mean, I know, like Maka does it. It's a similar-ish thing on the kickoff, but it was different then because in fan zone, it's literally like you and a Scouser or whatever, a City fan in a fucking cupboard next to each other. And how it never kicked off, I'll never know, because you can imagine like just being right next to someone, and they used to get in each other's faces, didn't they? Like proper, and you just end up fucking out, and you just be over. Like no way, you just sit there like that. Yeah,
taking abuse on TV. Right?
Fuck your camera. Fuck this. I'm going home.
But it was terrible though, because you get people on that took it too seriously and actually tried to commentate, which is what they weren't specifically there to do.
The best one of them was, do you remember the Arshavin 4 goals?
It was
against
the Arsenal. Liverpool.
Yeah, Arsenal and Liverpool fan. And I'll give you the Arsenal. He wasn't like an Arsenal fan CV fucking guy. He was a genuine fan. And he was fucking hilarious when like Arshavin scored his 4th. And like, because the Scouse is like an older guy, he's pretty chill, but he was going fucking berserk. And it was fucking brilliant because obviously that more or less cost him the title, didn't it?
That Arsenal fan that was famous was it the treble season or the season before that was on Sky for ages and ages, proper like shouting?
Vaguely. Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, not the guy with long hair, was it? It was. I know what you mean. I can't remember his name.
Because it was funny that when United played Arsenal in that FA Cup semi-final, it's great footage when is it Vieira that scores and it's offside, and it takes him about 5 minutes for all the Arsenal fans.
Was it Anelka?
Yeah.
That was such a good game. That everything in that game. It's the best game ever. That.
What game was that?
The 99 semi-final. You on about
replay?
Yeah. The replay. Yeah.
Obviously with Giggs' goal, but you forget like the Keane sending off, Beckham's goal, the missed penalty. Yeah, it's like fucking everything happened in that game that you could imagine.
Did you go, Jay?
No, I didn't, mate. In '99, I went to a few like different games there, and I didn't go to the Nou Camp. I didn't go to there, but I went to quite a few, and it was like fucking hell. It was just. I know it's a cliche, but it's true. It was just one big, massive party. Like, it just seemed to go on for fucking like leading up to the finals and stuff.
Yeah, I went to Villa Park, and then when we won at the end. And then all United fans had fucking stormed the pitch. I think I was like 17 at the time. Yeah. And then this big wall of stewards are stopping anybody else from onto the pitch. And I thought, there's no fucking chance I'm not getting onto that pitch then. So just fucking, I see a gap. It was for fucking diving through it, and then we're fucking rolling and broke my back on the pitch. And then all the Arsenal mob were running across from the other side of the pitch and stuff. Because it kicked off after on the grass and stuff. It was fucking amazing day though, amazing night even. It's fucking unbelievable.
Quality. You know, Monday I did a great podcast with all like the fancy editors from Arsenal and United covering that rivalry. They've got a good series. Their podcast. I think it's called Giant or something like that.
Okay, yeah, no,
I'll check that out, man.
I'll check that out, man. Right, last thing I want to do before we go is players from the past that you'd love to have seen play for your club. So, Jay, anyone that you wanted to see in a United shirt?
The signing that we didn't make, that I always wanted us to make, and there's two, but one shades it more than the other, and it's probably Batistuta. When I thought we were going to get him, I couldn't wait to see him. I thought it's tailor-made for United, and people go, "Oh well." In the end, it worked out all right. But I'd have loved to have seen him in a United shirt, and obviously scored that great goal against us, didn't he, in the Champions League? But he was just such a top striker, and I think he would have been fucking unreal for United. So yeah, he's the one that always sticks out. If people ask me, he was the one player we didn't get, or one player you would have liked to see in a United shirt, and I'd go with him. He just about shades Ronaldinho, but it's close.
Yeah, Ronaldinho. I remember we were in Mali, weren't we, when Ronaldinho was supposedly signing for United, and I think when we got back off holiday, then it signed for Barcelona. It was the following year we signed Ronaldo, wasn't it, after Ronaldinho?
No, we were in Mali with Ronaldo. Yeah, because I remember it was. I remember that pool bar crazy we used to go to. Reading the story, United have signed Ronaldo. It's summer of 2003, wasn't it? We were in Mali. And that's when
because I was on a lads holiday the year before in Cavos. And that's when we let Beckham. Was it the Beckham goal that year? Or
Beckham and Ronaldo was the same summer.
Same summer.
I remember, I'll never forget saying, like, with Sam Ronaldo, I think someone read it actually, and It's like, oh, I thought it was like R9 who'd obviously just scored that hat-trick for Real Madrid and all the rest of it. And it's like, nah, it's a lad called Cristiano Ronaldo from Portugal. And I was like, for fuck's sake, stay at this club, man. Fucking typical.
Fucking pound shop virgin.
Yeah. Go get Ronaldo and get fucking some kid from Portugal barely heard of. Pathetic.
Yeah. No, I'd love to have seen Ronaldinho, but Batistute was the name that I came up with that I'd love to have seen. It was just how violent he could hit the ball with such precision as well. It was just sort of like batty goal. He was such a bastard, wasn't he, with the way they fucking hit it. And he's absolutely like, I've been to see his statue at Florence, at the stadium in Florence that they built after him, because he's like idolised there. But he absolutely hates football. He never really liked football. It was only up until like I think it was the 76 World Cup of Argentina that he started taking an interest. He's more into basketball and stuff. And now he's finished it. He has very little to do with it. He likes polo and golf. And it's just bizarre how amazing he was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the sort of stock. And there's a manager in the Premier League now who's managed Batistute. Who do you think it is?
He's not Bielsa.
Is it Roy Hodgson?
It's Bielsa. No, Roy Hodgson's managed everybody else, but apart from it was Bielsa was his very first manager. Old Boys or whatever it is. James, who would you have liked to have seen in United shirt?
Did you ever use the Manchester United club call service?
Yeah. Is that the transfer one?
No, it's just it was like premium rate phone number, and you phone it, and it'd be like 30 seconds worth of news before the internet.
Howson was telling me, but we talk about this on Howson's Brood of Wheat, and he spent fucking like his dad went mad because he spent like 200 quid on it, ringing it every half an hour, like when he was a kid. Thinking he was going to sell it.
So this is like so it's like Sky Sports News direct from fucking Old Trafford.
Yeah, but it was like an automated service, so it wasn't like a human on the other end just telling you it. It was just like we just tell you like the news.
It was like James is saying, premium number, so it cost a fucking fortune. Oh. And like, I don't know how often they updated it, but it wasn't very often. But like, if you're a child and you've got access to a phone and you're gagging to know some transfer news, then you like just keep fucking.
Can you imagine going in there on a Monday morning, absolutely levered from a weekend binge, and like, what should we put on the fucking premium card?
I can't remember. Like, it was probably just dead beige news as well. Like, United are interested in or whatever. But you're like,
today we've cut the grass.
It was like we were talking about this as well. Do you remember the Manchester United radio station?
I was just going to say that actually, because before Century and before Key had the rights, United used to broadcast it at Old Trafford.
Yeah, but it was like one of the worst radio stations in the history of fucking radio. It was shocking.
Wasn't it only short form as well? You could only get it in a certain radius around
Old Trafford. Like if you literally, you'd have to be like on the forecourt at Old Trafford to hear the fucking United radio. Like I used to live in like Pint, which is like 4 miles away. You couldn't get it there. Forget that. Not happening. Like even in Stretford, which is down the road, no, that's like literally been fucking like on Chester Road to just about get it. It was ridiculous. It was just pointless.
United did a couple of strange things like that in the sort of mid-90s when commercialism and consumerism hadn't quite reached its peak, and they were still sort of experimenting in those sort of early Premier League years, like United Cola, that type of thing.
United Cola.
The basketball thing as well, like that was a fucking joke, wasn't it?
But that was United. Before that, because Ferguson.
No, that's right. So that was the 80s.
That was under
that was the 80s. Yeah, that was the 80s. That when I was really little. But yeah, there was also like I know what you mean. It's like there was some fucking crazy ideas, and United tried all of them.
James, who would you have liked to see in a United shirt before we go?
Probably Benzema when he played for Lyon. Because United had that summer, I think it was 09-10 when we sold Ronaldo, and we were linked with Ozil, Benzema, a couple of other players as well. And like United post that, it would have solved the issue of Hernandez, Van Persie, signing with Falcao, all these other strikers, because we would have had one made for like 8 years.
Yeah, it's always been a weird one, Benzema, for me. I've never understood what his best out and out positioning is, because I can never work out when I see him play. So I'm not sure what would he have been a number 9 at United?
Yeah, probably.
It's weird you said that, James, because we in the office we talked about this the other day. I said exactly what you just said then. I was like, we really got Benzema in that summer instead of like, and I think we all do it as United fans, and I've done it this season with Cavani. I even did it with Igalo. When we buy him, you try and buy into it. You try and get behind him, and you try and think, oh, all right, you know what? And they did it with Owen. You know, when we got Michael Owen? And I was like, when we linked with, I remember my mate suggesting it, right? United should go for Owen. I was like, fuck off, behave yourself. And then when we got him, I was like, do you know what? He scores a lot of goals, Michael Owen, and he's still only 20,
those 2 goals
29.
in pre-season change your mind around.
Yeah, and it's like you try and get behind him, don't you? Convince yourself. Oh, you know, seriously, you know.
Famously, good sign for Yokohama F. Marinos.
Yeah. If you can do it against them, you can do it against anyone.
Oh, he's still got it.
Yeah, Sing All-Star 11 that United, I think, grew to under Moyes, made up side.
It's like, yeah, pre-seasons are always a good laugh.
Miss Sing beer at Old Trafford. That was a much better option compared to what is served now.
What is it now?
I don't even know what it is now.
Like Boddington's or something.
No, there must be a lager there as well.
No, there's a lager there. I thought it was still Singer beer.
No, because United have got the sponsorship with them.
Oh, man. I don't know. Actually, I haven't got a jar of glue.
Because it's overpriced anyway. When I always tend to, I'm normally an Oasis Summer Fruits man, but that's like £4.
That's ridiculous.
That?
Yeah,
they take the piss, don't they, United, man?
And the food shit as well. If anyone's watching this that is never been to Old Trafford before, you have to go to the Legends Cafe on Chester Road. Don't buy a pint inside the stadium. You'll wait 20 minutes for it to cool down, and it's not as good as a meat and potato pie. Can't go wrong.
Yeah. And we have to add a disclaimer that we've not been paid for that anyway. That influences for Legends Cafe in Old Trafford. But that's why I love taking my eldest to the game, but I always get rinsed when I'm in there for fucking sweets. That is fucking proper expensive. But anyway, I've been Scotty, that's been Motty, that's been Younger. Post-match pint with no alcohol free, but lots of football. We shall see you very, very soon.